Hello and welcome to ThePrint. We are bringing to you this absolutely new property, this new show on ThePrint, which we call the Officer's Desk. In the 10 years that I have reported on bureaucracy, I found it extremely fascinating to know how much people are interested in the civil services, in the IAS, in the IPS, district magistrates, secretaries to the government. There is enormous interest in the steel frame of India. Having said that, people know very little. What does it actually mean to be a DM? What does it mean to negotiate with political pressures? What does an officer go through when there's a change in power? We don't know these things even though we're very interested in them. So in this show at the Officer's Desk, we answer precisely these questions. And I think we could not have a better guest to start this show with, Mr. Subhash Garg, who is the former Finance Secretary of India, and he has written this new book called No Minister. And I think it's a very telling title because it sort of throws light on exactly these numerous occasions in his career, in his over 30, I think 36-year
36
career
years.
in the IAS, where he had to explicitly say no minister. So welcome to ThePrint, sir.
Thank you, Sanya.
This has
Thank you
been
very
such
much.
a riveting read for me. Even though, as I was telling you, I understand very little of finance, but this book has been so rewarding.
Thank you, Sanya. I think it's not only about finance, it's about
Yes,
the entire
exactly.
Civil service, and that's what your initial remarks, your readers are more interested. In fact,
Yes.
in my judgment, most of the youngsters who appear for the civil services, and they appear in hordes, lakhs of
Yes.
people take the civil services examination every year with the aim to get into the IAS. I think they one position which sort of draws them so heavily is the post of the DM,
Yes.
the district magistrate or the district collector. There's a lot of glamour associated with that position, but it's not all glamour, Singham kind of thing. In the IAS, there's a lot of what you said, desk. There's a lot of desk-related jobs. There's a lot of grind in your 36, 37 years of service which you do. So very happy to be on the show with you.
Thank
And
you. Thank you
to
so
have
much.
Conversation.
So, sir, you joined the service in 1983.
That's correct.
From the Rajasthan cadre. Just before we jump into your career, what were your motivations to join the IAS? And was this your first attempt or was it your second attempt?
This was indeed my first attempt.
Okay.
And
so what were your motivations? Why did you think being part of the IAS?
See, to me, this appeared to be a very good service option for a career. You always saw the people around, how the administration and in the districts when you live. Incidentally, we were living very close to the house which the district magistrate Ajmer occupied. So I would pass through.
So you are from Rajasthan?
So I'm from Rajasthan, Ajmer, and you mentioned about the cadre. The cadre is allotted after you get into a certain formula related elements which got into it. So I got 4th position. I got my home cadre.
So being next to the DM's house.
Well, this was one of the inspiration, so to say, that this is a great career. I'm professionally more sort of towards accounting side. I was a commerce student and studied BCom. I also did my professional courses, the cost accountancy, company secretary and all. I always knew that you can aim, you can wish for getting into the IAS, but very few get it. Every year, only about 100 to 150 out of the lakhs who compete, and no one can guarantee you that you can get in. And therefore, for me, career in accountancy was the second option.
I guess that's very important because there are so many students, so many people who are preparing for the UPSC who need to hear that it's very important to have a second option.
Absolutely. I think whoever has sort of got in touch with me for the last many years, and I have seen some people who are completely clued on or focused on or they live by getting into the IAS somehow. I tell them that you can never get it for certain. You may be the brightest, but there is no dearth of bright people in this country of 140 crores. So, and by the way, in my judgment, the IAS is not a profession. IAS is this opportunity to serve the country in the positions which the government put you in. It's not a profession like a doctor, engineer, or a chartered accountant or something. So you can't actually be great at the profession of the IAS, right? And you can't acquire that, and therefore we always excel in your profession. And in case you are not able to make it to the IAS, it's better to sort of then excel in the profession which you know best.
Yeah. So, you were also talking about how the position of the DM is considered extremely glamorous, almost the Singham-like image that people have. So, as an outsider who is not yet an IAS officer, you must have had certain impressions as well. What's the first myth that got broken when you entered the service? Something that you thought IAS officers must be or must do, and you realize that's not true at all?
See, I didn't have honestly, any unrealistic expectations. I'm not a single employee by the time. I would like to do my work the hard way.
But what was different about your expectation and what you actually saw when you entered the IAS?
In fact, I found it to be far more interesting and varied when I got into. So when I got into the IAS, did my probationship, I've described some of those events related to it. I was posted during probation.
How for our viewers, how were the probation months like?
See, what happens when you join, you run a 2 years probation period, and of that, it's a 2 years total, about 1 year plus 3 months in Labasna, broken into 3 phases. And about 9 months to 10 months in the district where you do the practical training. So in the practical training, when you learn your job, you see what the officers do, what the administration is all about. So to respond to your question, so when I was given charge of Tehsildar Falodi, and Tehsildars do this registration business, right? And most people associate the registration business with some sort of corruption. So when the clerk told me for the first time coming that we collect 25 rupees for the Tehsildar on every registry you do, that shattered me that this is the level of, or this is the entrenched kind of corruption in the system. So how do you deal with that? So
and just as a 23-year-old, you were very young.
Exactly. So at that, this is 1984. So I was just about 24 years by the time I got those charges. But then good thing about it is that if you sort of learn to know to do your job well, learning the job is very important. That what is Tehsildar's job, so what is SDO's job, what is DM's job, what is Deputy Secretary doing, what is the head of the department.
And nobody teaches you this. This is something you learn on.
So this is the best part about USP of the IAS. You have experience of enormous amount of variety of services. One day you are in roadways, you're handling roadways. Another day you are handling agriculture. Third day you might be handling education, things like that. So that is the enormous variety which keeps you always very energized. But the best part is that if you sort of get into that job, learn that, and every job has some unique aspects about it, and then be competent enough to deliver that job well is what is most exciting and most important. It's not just throwing about your weight, sort of throwing your rank or
But it's very hard. I can imagine it must be very hard to do that. And of course, people enter the service with some degree of idealism. But how you explain, just in your first posting, even as a probationer, you understood how corrupt the system is. It can also, this amount of power can be very dizzying, especially for young people. And not everyone remains that idealistic. How does one keep a head on their shoulders?
See, if you try to do your job well, then it's not a sense of power, right? It's more a sense of responsibility then, because if throwing your weight around is power, I guess. Utilizing your rank to get a decision done or force a decision is perhaps a power, right? Or exercising some decision over the people to sort of impose your will is perhaps the power. But if you are doing your job, it's really quite different. For example, when you go to the field, you're supposed to allot land to the poor and all, right?
Allot land to the poor in what sense?
So what happened, we always used to have, even still we have, there's surplus land and there are landless people. There are farmers with very small amount of land. So the government had a policy that allowed the surplus land to the people, right? Now when you go into the reality of the situation, and if you find that the land which you're supposed to allot is already encroached by some powerful people, right? And you're allowed to allot it to the poor. Now, here, how do you actually carry it out?
Especially given that there's always the threat of a transfer.
That is a bit of a interface with the politician, right? In the real world, the powerful people at the local level, the money, the elected ones, and on the political side, otherwise, or the toughies for that matter, many times they tend to align themselves with the politicians quite well. And when you question their interest, for example, there is when I was DM in Rajsamand, there was a large plot of land where the grass used to come up during the monsoon session, and it was supposed to be allotted to the poor for their so that they can sort of graze their cattle there. But that land was in a way trespassed and taken control of by a minister's minions. Now the challenge you have is how do you sort of make sure that you allot that land to the poor.
And for our viewers who have not yet read the book, how did you handle a situation like that?
This was a real difficult situation, because first I tried that, because the rule said that you should auction that. And so whoever applies, you auction them. You means my tahsildars, patwaris would do it, the DM wouldn't do it, right? But there is always, there are always two possibilities in these kind of types of situations. Either they'll force the poor not to apply. In that case, they won't get the allotment. Or if there is a situation where they apply, because in this particular case, there was a very effective NGO which was working there, Kisan Mazdoor Shakti Sangathan, and they were backing the people. So it was also possible that all of them apply, or many of them apply, but they might be outbidded in that one particular auction. That in this, if you're forcing the auction to actually take place, but they have a limited money to offer, right? Because what is the value they're driving? They're driving some value from the grazing. If the bidding goes beyond even the price which is of that, then they wouldn't be interested. So in 1 year you can. So then you find a different solution. Then I said the best way is that in last 5 years we have allotted them at this price, and so we will keep the price fixed, no auction. It's only that whoever wants, we'll allot a certain kind of proportion of land so that everyone gets it. Now the powerful can also apply, but they will also get a fraction of that land. So there are solutions you can find, but these are tough solutions. So even there, once this was done, a situation arose that they tried to physically stop the people from taking possession and grazing their and a situation really was tough, where I had to tell the subdivisional magistrate, because the toughies came on their vehicles with some guns or something, that we'll not allow them. So I had to tell them that if required, you also fire. Make sure that these toughies don't get the possession, they don't deprive. Finally, it happened. They backed out, and So what I'm saying is that the real life situations can be much more difficult, which demands a certain kind of steel, a certain kind of resoluteness in you, and also a very careful study of the rules, regulations to make sure that you are not beaten into the system.
And that's why I was talking about this threat of transfer, because that's a sword that's always hanging on the heads of IAS officers. How do you actually navigate a situation like this, where if you take a decision against a politician, they can ask you to leave?
See, in my judgment, the officer also has to take a more appropriate approach.
A more realistic approach?
No, appropriate, I would say, because if officers tend to believe that there are certain good positions, there are certain lucrative positions where they should be posted, then that becomes their weakness in a way. But alternately, if you take a view that no, every position where you're posted is equal, because in every position you work, your salary, your allowances and other benefits remain unchanged. So it should not matter to an officer to be transferred to post B from post A. How should it matter? So I took this view right in the beginning, that it's not my right to be posted to a particular position. And if the politician or the ministers transfer me to another position, I shouldn't have any problem.
That's very rare. Why? Because even now when we talk to IAS officers, this entire idea of plum posting is a perennial obsession for officers.
That's the real weakness.
Yeah, but why? How do you think this culture seeps in, and why does it keep getting reinforced?
See, I think this is human. All of us are human, whether any IAS officer or IPS officer is also a human. And most humans tend to have these as the weakness, that of course something which is socially perceived to be very, very high is something which I should get. For example, DM position, a lot of IAS officers would give anything to be a DM. Because socially in their circles or otherwise, they think that they are valued more, they get more respect if they're posted as DM. Or if you have weakness to make some little bit of money, or then you tend to get posted in departments where you can make money. So these are your own weaknesses which make you susceptible to be misused or controlled by the politician.
So, there's a quote, I don't know who to attribute it to because I don't know who said it, but it's a very famous quote that they say that in India there are 3 positions that exude the maximum power. It's the PM, CM and DM, right? And DM, of course, you are the king of the district. Everything is it can be done at your behest. But it's an unelected post. As opposed to the DM and CM. Do you think there is too much power that is invested or in the DM's office?
See, the governance structure in our country is that you have a national level where the elected representatives hold the biggest post, so to say. Then you have the next level as the state. Then you have a district, which is more unique to India.
And it's of course a colonial.
In most countries, if you go, you would have municipalities, cities, or the counties. You wouldn't have a district kind of thing. And even there, the counties or municipalities would have the elected. So all through, you have an elected system. In India, you have district level, which is fairly large considering India's population in the territory. So it's a powerful.
So, for example, when you were the DM, how many people were there in your district?
See, the typical district population would range, I think, from let's say 8 lakhs to about 20 lakhs.
That's a lot.
So that's a lot of people. There are many countries in the world which don't have that kind of population. And secondly, since you don't have a political office at the district, all those powers which are, let us say, concentrated in the chief minister at the state level, in a way are concentrated in the district magistrate. That's what makes it powerful. But I would again make this distinction. The power is a loose word, but
responsibility, power, correct. And I don't mean power in a bad way, but power nevertheless.
There are couple of things which, so you administer laws. In certain laws, you have certain powers. For example, you have in the criminal procedures law the right to sort of declare unlawful assembly, or you have police to arrest and things like that. So you have those powers of law and order management. In many of the laws, you have the allotment I mentioned about land. You have the power to decide many of the land disputes and other things. Then you also are in charge of most of the programs which run. So Narega or many other programs which get run. So you decide allocations there. So there are many responsibilities which are attached to you, which are in a social setting, you may consider as powerful. But if you exercise that in the sense and within the four walls of what the law expects you to do or what the program expects to do, and you do a fair job, then it's not a power at all. I don't think you can get a sense of power at that. In fact, the kind of power structure and the fractious social relationships we have in our country, it's very easy if you do a fair job to run foul with the other powerful people, right? And then that makes your power probably wither away.
But do you think there's some merit in this argument that given that the position of the DM is an unelected post, there needs to be more democratization at that level?
I don't mind that. We can, as a country, decide to sort of move towards the political nature of the district level. You already have a district panchayat body in all the states. So there is a Jila Pramukh kind of arrangement. But today he is interested only with some rural side, panchayat side of that, limited power. Then you have below that a panchayat samiti. So if you choose to sort of abolish or entrust, let us say, Jila Pramukh to the district level government, so to say, it might change, and you can make a district magistrate as a chief secretary of the district, so to say, to the district minister, so to say, chief minister, and then you can have a district minister. But I would caution, I don't think we are ready as a country to do that. Our political equations or political parties, the way what you see in the municipalities, many times you go and see the kind of fracas and impasse which you see at the mayoral and other kind of things. The fact that we are able to implement laws of the country and we are able to deliver the programs in a substantially unbiased and a fair and impartial manner is because we have a political civil service at the district level, and it's not under the control of a district political leadership. So I would suggest that we shouldn't be venturing into or into
unnecessary
unnecessary adventurism is not good.
So for our viewers, most IAS officers divide their career in field postings and then the secretariat, the state secretariat as well. And state secretariat obviously includes the equivalent of what we have here in the center, different ministries, and you have a certain minister who you report to and so on. How are the two different? I mean, there are obvious answers to this, but how do you approach these two differently?
So you serve in the IAS at the district or sub-district level, then you serve at the state level, and you also serve at the central level. That is the way the civil service career is in a way designed. Not everyone comes to the center, but a lot of people who are directly recruited in the IAS tend to come to the central government as well. Your question about how the national and the state
not just the national, even within the state secretariat, how do you reorient yourself from being in the field, on the field as a DM, and then moving to the state secretariat? We'll come to the center in a bit.
See, there is a very clear distinction between what you do at the district and what you do at the secretariat or the state level positions. The district level positions are purely implementational, administrational. You don't decide any policy, you don't make any law, you don't sort of make a new program or something. These are implementational, right? Whereas in the state, whichever position you work in, it is more about designing program, designing policy, getting into framing new laws and all. So that is a different kind of job altogether. So if you're working in finance or you work in agriculture at the state level, so you work on a field, on a sector, on a specialized field, and there you are not administering something. You may be supervising administrative function or delivery of the programs at the district level or so. So you might be doing supervisory, but more of that you also would be doing playing part into the policy formulation.
But what if someone feels as an IAS officer that my expertise lay in being with people in the district and I'm not cut out for policy making? Is there that flexibility?
So this is a perennial sort of conflict. Of course, most officers tend to be with the people, be with the district. There is where they consider more powerful, more favored dispensation. You can benefit people directly, and you can see that relationship in that. So I know even in the service there are people who would always like to be in the field.
Yeah. Right. So typically an officer spends how many years as a DM?
There is no typical. It depends. It depends on several factors. One, for example, if there are large batches tend to come, the field positions become smaller. Or what is your mindset vis-a-vis politicians? Because that makes a lot of difference. If you are someone who sort of can gel well with the politician, then you tend to get more of the field posting. But if you're more of technocratic, specialized kind of thing, or more of no nonsense kind of thing, maybe you would tend to spend more time in the I got only one year posting as the district magistrate, and you'd find this very interesting. They're a very seasoned politician, so they would expect at least that whatever good work was being done, they would be invited to sort of function so that they can take credit. Their only intention is to be able to take credit for whatever is happening. But if you do it in a technocratic unbiased, when you don't invite them or do seen as doing it on their behalf or something, they may find you inconvenient. So I was transferred, and the lady was gracious enough. She called me to say that you are doing a good job, but you don't suit us. And therefore, we have asked your transfer. And that's the only post I got as the district magistrate, but I have no regret. I love doing my other jobs as well.
I also feel that throughout your career, you were, I don't know if it was subconscious or conscious, sort of gravitating towards economics and the finance sectors, even in Rajasthan, and then of course at the center. How did that play
That's
out?
correct. So I have, as I told you earlier, a background in finance, and I thought that's something I used to be very interested, and therefore I hoped to get into the finance related jobs. I describe in detail that when I was completing my SDM ship, I in fact went to meet the finance secretary to be posted as deputy secretary in the secretariat, a position which normally no one wanted, because the moment you went to the secretariat, all your sort of creature comforts would simply go away. Exactly, nothing of that sort. So, but I was not given the post, right? In fact, in my first 16, 17 years of service, until I came to the Government of India for the first time, I didn't do a core finance job. So, but then after that, I did many stints and I got opportunity to work. So, here again, I may wish to do, I may also prepare myself to be a kind of more of an expert or a knowledgeable person by sort of preparing myself to be that. But then I don't have a right to be posted there, and I shouldn't feel
you don't
about
have
it.
the choice.
No, you can offer, so you have a choice, but the decision about posting a certain officer to a certain post is not yours.
But so much of this, I imagine, would also then boil down to your interpersonal relationships with your seniors, with politicians, and so on.
I think that also is a factor, definitely. But there, as far as my sort of life in the service was concerned, I had another personal preference that I should do what I believe is to be right, not what my boss thinks. So, in fact, my sense was that I should be capable enough to sort of assess that policy decision or whatever decision we are taking on its own merit in my own frame. And I had a subconscious or conscious frame that does this decision which you are suggesting serve the public interest or not? It may serve the political interest as well, but does it serve the public interest or not? If something is a pure political interest and doesn't serve the public interest, that's not something which I would do. And that might bring me into the conflict with the boss, administrative boss as well as the political boss. And therefore, to ensure that you are doing independently and meritoriously, I wouldn't even discuss with my bosses that what should we do on this job. I should come up with the conclusion. And that may lead to certain kind of conflict situation. You would probably But I must also say there are in the service always many officers and also some ministers who would value merit, who would value competence. That is that officer competent to do this job or not? And there are some tough jobs which are also good for only the real competent guys to do. So I wouldn't care that where I am posted. But
this is, I think, crucial because actually I really want to move to the political bosses as well. We have a photo of Vasundhara Raje before and Ashok Gehlot. But before we come to that, I quickly want to ask you, there's this debate that goes on all the time about generalists and specialists. Now, if I were an IAS officer and I was posted in the finance department, I wouldn't know what to. So what does an officer do if they are put in a situation where they just don't know the subject?
See, in my assessment, there are certain which are purely technocratic. For example, how do you develop semiconductors or energy efficiency or new ways of generating energy, etc. These are pure technical functions, right? Or for that matter, even so in this kind of job, these are not meant for IAS officers. And we have even in our system also purely technocratic organizations. You have ISRO, you have many other scientific organizations and others.
But within the states as well?
Even in the states, there would be some technical organizations. They also, even in departments like forest, environment and others, there is a technical wing. Even water resource and others, there is a technical wing. How do you sort of design dams and those kind of things? These are technical subjects. These are always done by the technocrats. Civil servants are, IAS officers are not supposed to do it. Where the interface comes is, and that before I say that, the jobs which are within the domain of the civil service, couple of things are always common. For example, you always deal with humans. So sociological structure of the country, the human ways how to handle the human beings fairly, equity, efficiencies, some jobs like elections and many. These are very common. So whether you are going or doing one job or the other, it makes very little difference. But what you mentioned, there is also some technical aspect associated with the policy making and the program. So, for example, if I would work in agriculture, so there are technical aspects about agriculture. How does plant grow? What kind of fertilizers work better? These are the technical aspects.
And what if someone doesn't know that at all, doesn't understand science?
That is where I think we have to have a compromise kind of system. A system which can be the better middle way. The other is that if you ask only a pure technocratic guy to do that job,
it takes the humanness away.
The other aspect, how to deal with the people, the country's system, the rules, regulations, the financial aspects of it, they appear to be very weak. I've seen some of the doctors being posted as the director of the medical, they struggle enormously with the administrative aspects, how to post people, their promotions and other things. So here you do strike a kind of compromise.
Does that compromise exist, or does that balance exist?
That is, I think, where the even the political leadership, how good that is. If it can make it can bring about a situation where there is because even the civil servants today, I think about 50-60% of the civil servants are those who join IAS are from IITs and the engineering, so the doctors also. So they are technocrats. There are very few journalists, so to say. In fact, technofication of the IAS is also an issue which we should be discussing.
So too many engineers.
Correct. So there is no dearth of the And who comes into the IAS from the engineers and doctors? They're brightest of their own field.
Yeah.
Today, if you go to the IIT Kanpur, you would find hundreds of them, the brightest of them, also into the IAS. So I think you can always find the talent to do a job in the in the state or the center, using the right kind of or more appropriate mix of the skills and the experience you have. But if you or a chief minister or a prime minister, if you post the people for different considerations, the considerations that whether it's loyal to me or not loyal to me, whether it's serving his mindset is close to our public or our political or to me personally.
जैसे आपको बोला गया था at the center, your thinking is not in line with the government's thinking. We'll come to that.
I was told, definitely.
Yeah.
So that is where the differences of problems mind. So I think it lies to the sagacity. It depends on that whole deal. But there is no dearth of talent in the country or in the IAS for any kind of job, technocratic or non-technocratic.
Now coming to the political bosses, I found this phrase so interesting about Vasundhara Raje, who you worked with for many years.
Yes, true.
And you had a mixed relationship with her. You saw good sides of working with her and the not so good sides, and you say that she had an official split personality. Explain to our viewers what you meant by that.
See, I describe this in the later part, because for many years the relationship I had with her and the kind of jobs and responsibilities she entrusted to me was fabulous.
Yeah.
I was the youngest principal secretary finance, made by and chosen by her.
And you also gave conditions to her that I will take this job.
Yeah, so because that was a very tricky situation. Elections were due in next 6 months. In that kind of situation, do you accept the responsibility of being the principal secretary? And in the face of the record of last 20 years, which I remembered, that every chief minister tries to do a lot of populist thing just before the election. So I said, no, I wouldn't. And you would have to give me the authority or the right to come back to you that what is a better alternative. Why should you not
and
do?
Then you accept and then you do what you have to.
Correct.
But I should have the freedom to.
That's correct. And I know for sure that if you are able to explain many times, the politicians would also accept that yes, this is better. But if you don't have that opportunity, or she has no opportunity or he has no opportunity to listen to that alternative view, obviously she gets... but the issue about split personality, the one facet which I found for many years, I think I must have served for about 4 or 5 years with her, is that she was an idealistic, an ideal kind of finance minister on the expenditure side. And she wouldn't ask us to spend anything. She was not a populist in that kind of thing. You would read that the kind of program, the Mama Shah we brought in, which is actually the precursor of JM Trinity and all at the national level, whereas many others were advising her to go for the populist, make the power free, give the free atta and those kind of things. And she chose to try and stick to a program which was not proven and which had every chance of being unsuccessful. So many of those aspects were something which in my life of 36 years, I didn't find many politicians to be so good at that. You won't find a more idealistic or more appropriate or good, competent minister of that nature. But then there was another side, which in most part of my life in Rajasthan, I wasn't concerned with. Because politician probably has to make some money. It has to win election. She has to win election. For that, you need money in this country. So where do you make money? Right. So there are certain areas, land allotments, JDA or excise department or things like. Perhaps she was able to do. As I said, for most part, I was not concerned. So, but later on, I got concerned, and that's where a bit of conflict started with her. So, this phenomenon, to my mind, that you can very clinically, very well divide yourself into two. One where you work so according to the book, with complete propriety, honesty, no waste, which a civil servant can sort of only say that there can't be a better situation than this. And then there is another way where you may do whatever you're doing. And this, to me, appeared to be a case of a split personality.
And could you say things to her like this? Could you?
Of course, one thing I have been able to do in my entire life is to say what I want.
No minister.
No one has, including at the top level in government of India. So, and not only say, I would write.
Yeah. We'll come to those actually very interesting things that happen at the center.
That is what happens. And it's for the minister, the politician to decide how to deal with it.
This I think is also what I want to discuss with you is very crucial now, because there's so much conversation about center-state relationships, more political antagonism between not just states which are run by a non-BJP government, but as was the case with Vasundhara Raje, it was a BJP ruled state, and yet there was antagonism between the center and the state, and you were at the center of it. So you get a call from Mr. P.K. Mishra wanting you to join the World Bank, and that really upsets Mrs. Vasundhara Raje. And obviously, a very long association that you've had with her comes to nothing. So tell us what happened, because it ended obviously very acrimoniously, where she did not even want to meet you just because you would accept a posting in the center.
This was a bit of a sad part of my innings with her or in Rajasthan. I had no intention. I in fact didn't know why P.K. Mishra called me to Delhi, but he was insistent. He said, "Come today in the evening. I want to see you at 7 o'clock," without telling me anything. And Vasundhara Raje happened to be not in Jaipur, was in Dholpur in her fort or something, so I couldn't reach out to her. So I asked the Chief Secretary. Chief Secretary said, "All right, go."
Arvind Mayaram was
not Arvind Mayaram, Rajiv
Maharshi was the
Rajiv Maharshi. So he said, "Just go." So I came here, and in the conversation, when Mr. Mishra started explaining that I'm being interviewed out of 5 for being considered for the position of the Executive Director, World Bank. This is one of the prestigious, high-paying, dollar salary position in Washington. So anyone would, and anyone can think that this is something which you probably work very hard to get at, right? And so when he hinted me something about this, I said there is absolutely no chance of my being my going there. Number one,
why was that the case? Why did you refuse?
Because one was very clear. I had gone only about 8 months back to Rajasthan at the request of the Chief Minister to do finance-related job there, and there was no chance she would relieve me or she would want me to go anywhere. So I said there is no chance of. Then he discussed other things, that who else, etc., etc. At the end of the day, my impression was that I have conveyed sufficiently that I'm an unlikely candidate. I'm not available for the job, so to say. And I went on. Next day there was a sort of delegation going to Singapore. I went there, and then I heard from him there the day after that I'm being posted. Prime Minister is approved. I'm being posted at Washington DC. Now that, how did she receive it is not privy to me. I was not at that time. But I can surmise, I can sort of from the circumstances conclude that she must have felt devastated. She must have felt very bad.
Cheated, you say?
Cheated. You can, that. And I think this is not a secret. There was some sort of coldness in relationship between the Prime Minister and her. So whatever she might have thought, I've guessed it later. I've tried to speculate that probably there was an attempt to cut her down to size by removing her two major sort of support bases or whatever. But that's not something I know.
And this is you and Mr. Rajiv Maharishi, who became Home Secretary eventually.
Yes, first he came as Finance Secretary, and then later on went to Home Secretary. He also went to be the CAG. But what I heard and what I know, that she took it very, very adversely. Was it her sort of mental makeup, or what she got a wrong feedback? Perhaps she concluded that I was angling for this job, I was trying at her back, which is not a fact at all. Right. And she got so cut up. I didn't know. When we came back that day, cabinet meeting was scheduled. So Finance Secretary in Rajasthan is always present inside the cabinet and has the right to speak on any item and all those kind of things. So I kept sitting there. She wouldn't come.
You were escorted out.
Later on, I was escorted out, and literally I heard that she had said that until she see my back, she won't come and attend the meeting. So that is the kind of reaction which got generated in her. But
and then you never saw her again?
After that, I've never spoken to her. It's more than now 11 years. It's about 11 years.
So when you came to the center, this was, I believe, when you came in 2014. Of course, you went to the World Bank, but this was your second stint at the center. You had already served in the cabinet.
I was in cabinet. No,
during Manmohan Singh's time, you had already served in the cabinet secretariat.
You see, I first came to Delhi in 2000 in the Department of Economic Affairs.
Exactly, right.
So for 5 years...
Where you had issues with Mr. Chandrababu Naidu.
So 5 years I had spent there. Then I had gone in 2006 to Rajasthan, came back in 2009 and served in the Agriculture Ministry and also in the Cabinet Secretariat. This 2014 posting was in Washington, DC. On way, because she relieved me and there was 1.5 months time to go. So they created some post of OSD here for me to while away my time, so to say. But I came back, I was posted as Secretary Economic Affairs in 2017 and I stayed up to 2019. Until the time I put in my papers.
And that's also such a controversial, but we'll come to that. You know, you were one of the bureaucrats who's worked in, as you mentioned, in from 2000 in the early 2000s when there was an alliance government, then in Manmohan Singh's government, which was also, and then you come to you also worked with Mr. Modi's majority government. How is it different to work for a bureaucrat to be working in a government that's an alliance with many voices, many political voices, and when there is a solid majority government?
See, if the civil servant works according to the book, that is what his job description is. I don't think it makes any difference who the government is. He has a job to do as prescribed. Secretary Economic Affairs is a laid down job. So that is what he or she is supposed to do. right? But that is saying only what the ideal, what is the formal part of it. You can't ignore the reality. The reality is that there is a minister, there is a prime minister. If their personalities are different, their expectations are different, the things change. What I found, and I must say, that is until my first term here in 2005, and we were in the finance ministry, my sense was very clear that the finance ministry did not differentiate between a ruling party related state or the opposition state. That is, it used to decide the matter in a formula kind of thing, which is fair and common to everyone. The discretion element was much less. There was no favoritism or something. In fact, it was a little bit of a reverse favoritism at that time when a particular state, for example, Andhra Pradesh, was trying to ride roughshod and extract resources and things like that, which I had to correct. But center was neutral, right? In 2004, after Mr. Modi's government, especially in the later part of the first term, I started seeing that you have favorites.
In terms of states?
In terms of states, or in terms of even the officers who would sort of deliver what is expected, what is not expected. And then something changed which made me take that decision. Where
but we'll come to that decision in a bit, but tell me, how was, for example, working with in Mr. Vajpayee's government different from working with Mr. Modi? How were their leadership styles? How did it translate for you as a bureaucrat? What are the main differences?
I think at that level, so with Mr. Bajpai
you were, of course, at the
Manmohan Singh government, when I rose from director to joint secretary, I wasn't secretary, so there wouldn't be many personal interfaces with them, and it's, I think, the secretary's job to make sure that the officers working in the department are not unduly exposed to what is going on into the political. That's what I ensured as Secretary Economic Affairs, that the officers not unduly affected by what is so. I would deal with that matter rather than sort of expecting my officers to be unduly affected or concerned about it. But, and so there's some amount of that individual's personality will seep in. For example, let's say Manmohan Singh. So he was not one who would impose anything, right? He was more meritocratic. So he would listen, but he wasn't strong either. So his ability to sort of implement or ensure a right kind of decision was also. So all this, when you have, for example, I describe in quite a great detail the housing allotments which Mr. Kamal Nath tried to sort of wear in such a way that he could do some favoritism. And when we tried to approach Mr. Manmohan Singh to sort of put a stop to it, he was not decisive. He wasn't decisive.
Was it a very weak PMO?
See, in certain respects, let us say the decision which he made a point, let's say nuclear power deal or some of the economic management and others, it wasn't that weak, but certain other aspects about being able to sort of, I also describe exactly. Yeah. So that.
So I mean, Jayanti Natarajan, of course, did not show up for a meeting where the Prime Minister was waiting for her for 40 minutes.
So that was definitely a weakness, kind of. But if there is overbearingness on the other in the other person, that may kill.
Is that true since 2014? That has it been too strong a PMO where there is too much centralization, favoritism? How has post 2014 bureaucracy, how has it changed?
I worked up to 2019, which coincided with the first term. And that first term was definitely much different than what I hear and see from the second term onwards. In the first term, I would be completely honest in saying that we had full opportunity to sort of pose, discuss with the Prime Minister heading the meeting, and very clearly one could outline or elaborate on what one considered, and there was no sort of fear or anything of the sort that you can't do this or this is not what will please the Prime Minister. But beginning with this, maybe partly this was that we were in a way partly shielded by Mr. Arun Jaitley. Maybe that might be a factor, but even otherwise, on its own, that is what. But the second term, thereafter, the muzzling of the institutions, playing favorites to selecting people who are more of the same mindset, yes men. I think there is a distinction even for some same person in the first term and the second term.
So it got more centralized, more sort of dominating in the second term?
It looks like. It looks like. I didn't say much.
There's a theory that actually a lot of us have also disseminated, which is that in the first term, all of Modi's chosen bureaucrats were from Gujarat. But that's not entirely true because there are people like you who were very senior. So you don't think that's true at all, that there was a domination of officers from Gujarat who came?
No. First term, there were people from Gujarat essentially in PMO. That is where his comfort level was, because PMO is where he would sort of interact more. But the wider government, I don't think there was dominance of Gujarat.
Also, his own principal secretary, Mr. Nipendra Mishra, was not a Gujarat.
Exactly.
How do you think he was picked? Or why do you think he was picked?
I have no idea about why he was picked.
Because he had long retired.
Correct, and which required even change in
the right,
because all that. So that is not what I am privy to. But he was certainly a very competent person to choose, and Prime Minister might have thought that he needed somebody who is very competent, effective. Sometimes you may go to the extreme. That's a different matter, and that's what probably was the reason why he was chosen. It's again not Gujarati kind of thing or the loyalist angle, which is what you see today.
But with Mr. Mishra, you did have some tensions as well, where, and I think, was it for the PM Kisan Yojana, where he said, you ended up having a meeting with the PM, and the PM acquiesced with you, and he said, don't go over my head and meet the PM again. Tell us about what happened.
See, as I said, he was very effective. He was also sort of driving a lot of policy development decisions. And I think after I came over here, initially he thought I might be some sort of upstart. But when he saw that I can deliver on many things, I think he involved me into so many things to get the right kind of perspective or the real knowledge background of those kind of things. So we had fabulous relationship, and I probably every week I would be there 3, 4, 5 times in PMO discussing with him many things. He would trust me. He would entrust me something which was not my job to get it done. So I had no complaints, right? But in later part, again, it might be for anything, he might have been asked to get certain things done. And if I would put a different point of view, then he might have felt comfortable. The instance which you are saying that was related to the fiscal deficit levels for the 1920 interim budget. He wanted relaxation where we had.
This is at the time of the elections.
This was just before the elections, and a higher fiscal deficit. So I said I felt it is not appropriate. Then I sought a meeting through Mr. P.K. Mishra to the Prime Minister. Prime Minister agreed, and then he was told, which he might have not have liked, though the Prime Minister was not very funny. He said consult the Finance Minister as well, and there were.
But he didn't. So he didn't agree or disagree. The Prime Minister.
He was sympathetic to what I was saying, but not necessarily approving it. That is what it is. But then Mr. Mishra, Nirmala Mishra might have felt that here somebody trying to go over my head, and that's what he said. It's fair. I had no problems.
This is actually very crucial, sir, because there's an impression that it is the Prime Minister's personality that he is not very receptive to criticism or opposition to whatever he is thinking. But is it the people around him who are less receptive, or is it him who is less receptive?
See, my sense is that the Prime Minister has got certain views and certain preferences, right, which he holds very dearly. And therefore, if you think that because of that, he is not receptive, or he is not listening to others, or he has no patience for the alternative viewpoint, that might be true. If I hold a view and you hold a different view and I don't agree with you, it doesn't necessarily mean that I'm imposing. I may have a different view. So if the Prime Minister has a certain kind of views, he's entitled to him. Of course. That's the and therefore simplifying things or oversimplification, that's whether it's he or his officers associated with him. My sense is that most of the officers who work with him only partly are reflecting what the Prime Minister. I'll just give you one instance. We wanted, there were vacancies in Washington, the World Bank, IMF, etc., and it was getting sort of compiled. Many months had gone. I would go to P.K. Mishra, say that this position need to be filled in. He would say yes, and things. So he would go and discuss with the Prime Minister. Prime Minister would perhaps tell him that not all posts need to be filled by IAS officers or civil servants. Find somebody else.
From other services or outside?
Outside or something. Whether he had somebody in mind, he wouldn't tell. But so P.K. Mishra would try to find something. We would do some more work that in the World Bank, it is the civil servants who are most appropriate to be sent because it's on the development, financing, poverty and all. In the IMF, it's more technocrats, so we can send a technocrat there. So was Mr. P.K. Mishra reflecting his views, or was he sort of conveying what the Prime? I think it was very clearly that he was trying to find some via media for satisfying what the Prime Minister's views are. So that it's a real life situation. It's not oversimplified conclusions we can't draw.
I think one more oversimplified conclusion we in the media have drawn is that there is excessive, inordinate centralization of power in the PMO since 2014. Is that true?
So he is very assertive, Prime Minister. He has views, right? So if you have views, a point of view, and you are assertive, and how do you implement that? You implement first through the officers who work with you in the Prime Minister's office. and therefore you try to get the wider government to sort of get molded towards that. So that sort of brings a lot of sort of what power equations or concentration. That's positive, understandable if the chief executive of the country is assertive and has a viewpoint and he has a mandate to deliver that. He should be able to get that done. But there is another thing which I would fail in my duty if I don't point out. There is a very strong centralization streak where anyone else, especially in the opposition states or opposition, why do you think we in the country we are seeing as this phenomenon where opposition ruled states governors are so over interfering in the working of those governments? Why do they think they withhold assent to whatever they think is not worth to? Who is controlling those governors? So you have the institutions getting after. So that tendency that no, everyone should be sort of coming here. This is the place where the decision is finally taken, and opposition is not the state where I would give that space and I'll try to. So this over centralization tendency, accompanied by a very strong belief system, I think that perhaps explains to me the current situation in the country.
For you, things came to a head when Nirmala Sitharaman became the finance minister. And you have, sir, explained in your book that from the very beginning, her attitude was a bit frosty towards you. And then later, of course, you relate this entire incident where there is a meeting with different stakeholders before the budget, and she's very sarcastic with you in front of those stakeholders. Then when you go to clarify things with her and ask her what's happening, she says that you have probably been bitching about her and you have been treating her like a bachchi. How do you think that impression got formed, and where was this coming
this
from?
This is a bit of an unfortunate saga in my service life. I'd never had this kind of situation. There have been many occasions where I was simply transferred the next day. Right. So, and it's fine if your political boss is not comfortable in working with you. You get him out of the way, and I have no problem. I'll do the other job. So many situations I describe this in. Unfortunately for her, perhaps that power to make that decision was not with her.
What do you mean?
So because she couldn't have transferred me, right? So she went to Prime Minister, wanted me out.
But why? How do you think that impression got formed to begin with? It's not that you'd worked with her before.
My analysis post facto is that she's a strong personality, right? She's a very articulate, she's very imposing, and I think she works also very hard. So perhaps when she came when I had spent about 2 years in the finance ministry, and the kind of regime which Mr. Arun Jaitley ran was where we had all the authority to do the kind of work. He would focus on only the key things, etc. So perhaps she got an impression, wrongly in my judgment, that I run the finance ministry. Whereas she, being such a strong personality, would feel perhaps a bit belittled by that kind of thing.
So during Mr. Jaitley's tenure, you were a fully, very well empowered secretary. Is that the
always? I was not the only secretary there. There are 4 other secretaries, and everyone was feeling that same way. Ask Hashmukh Adia or Ajay and others. So I think that's
Ajay Seth.
Ajay Seth is later. Ajay was there, expenditure secretary. So anyone or everyone, or Rajiv Kumar for that matter, in banking. So that was a different way. Possibly after she came and she found a situation where, and I used to work with the PMO, a lot of things were happening in that way. So perhaps she got a sense that it's not something to her liking. That she is a minister and she wants to be assertive, fair enough. I think if she had given some time and given some thought, she would have realized that I'm not, it's not my fiefdom. I'm doing a job and I would do a job with her as well.
So explain to us how things actually kept getting bitter with her, and eventually when you resigned, there's this occasion when you're asked to, I think, backdate some file notings, which is remove some critical notes that you had made in the file, and for the first time it was communicated to you that they need to be removed and new notes need to be backdated. So what really happened, and by that time was your resignation already sort of there at the back of your mind? Was it something you had been contemplating for a while before that?
See, this was a 55 days I spent with her. But these were very fast-paced developments. And there were many things happening at that time. The budget was to be sort of prepared and delivered on 5th of July.
And she didn't even share the budget speech with you, which you were supposed to.
I would suggest the readers might read the book to get the more detailed blow-by-blow type account if you want to read that.
Yeah. But that moment when you decided that enough.
So, no, so what I felt was that with her at the helm, I wouldn't be able to experiment, do many things in the finance ministry which I would love to do, right? And then in certain cases, very high profile like that dividend distribution issue with the RBI, she tended to take views which were contrary to what the finance ministry would recommend. Maybe she was getting some hints or instructions from elsewhere. So I started getting a feeling of being a bit of a lame duck in the finance ministry. So then this thought started coming to my mind that it's not great to be in the government and not being able to do what you want to do, right? That is what was cooking in the mind, so to say. Then a couple of other incidents happened, including the last sort of straw, so to say, when a note sheet was sort of required to be re-prepared.
Kind of backdated.
No, it's not backdated. So there was a 10-page kind of note sheet with very different kind of notings from DFS, from us, with dates and all. And as our system is, electronic system is, everything has been recorded on the electronic files, etc. So you have a file where a certain kind of decision you have arrived at finally. And there was no discomfort in that decision, because after the PMO decided that this would be the case, the decision, I had also signed with that. But she was uncomfortable in signing that file.
Which had some reservations that you had recorded earlier.
That's correct. So there was some discussion going on that file, which was not perhaps to her liking. And that is where a secretary said that this note sheet. So you have to do a backdated work trying to create something on those very dates and times, change the what was there on that note by replacing with something else. I didn't do it. It was done by Rajiv Kumar and his team
who became the Chief Election Commissioner.
Correct. In the DFS. I only signed it. But then I took a view that if you were to come to such a situation where you are changing the note sheets, this is sacrilege, literally. So I said, this is not now anymore of your time to be here. And that was the final straw.
And it was obviously extremely unprecedented for a finance secretary to resign from service. I don't think that has happened before.
That's my personal decision. I don't think that's unprecedented in the sense that there have been, even as Secretary Economic Affairs, Mr. Sharma had sought voluntary retirement in the year 2000. There would be other, I think, a foreign secretary at one point in time. And so it's not unprecedented in that way.
But still a significant.
And I don't care about whether it's systemically important or significant or not. For me, it was a personal choice that is it better to be in this state, in the government, do a different job, keeping all these things as part of your baggage, so to say, or to say goodbye and go to the wider society and work what you feel like. So it was more of a personal decision.
Right. This has been such a fascinating conversation, sir. And I believe, and I think you're such a memory keeper in terms of how governance institutions work in India. I hope you will write more such books that will allow us, people like us, to get a peek into how the Indian government, the Indian state actually works from the district right up to the center in Delhi.
I'm done with the life in the IAS with these two books.
Yes.
I don't think I have any more to say. But these two books, perhaps, to my mind, bring out the life of an IAS officer who is very much interested and resolute in serving the public interest. So I think this is more than anyone would like to read. So
course.
I think
and an officer who always had the spine to say no, minister.
See, you don't say no.
Of course.
That is what I think there's a very important aspect of it. My sense is that it's not a great idea to say no. Right? Because if you say
draw lines.
No, that's what I'm saying. That if you say no, you're trying to sort of usurp some authority in you, which perhaps is not yours. What is more important is that if you being asked to do something which is not in accordance with the rules, regulations, or in the wider public interest, the first duty, to my mind, of a civil servant is to come back to the minister, chief minister, prime minister, with a better alternative. And try to convince that this is, to my mind, the part of the steel. Coming up with a better alternative imparts that strength to that steel. But if you are vacuous, you are only as if that I'm able to say no. Then you will that iron will break. That is more. But if it comes to crunch, I think that's very important. You should be able to say no by going out, and you should and believing in yourself that you have something else which is be as exciting and more exciting to work for, rather than sticking and getting rusted. So that's what it is important. I think no should be interpreted in that way. Better alternatives, stick to it, and if it comes to crunch, then either stop the politician from doing something which is not in line with the law or the rules, or if you can't, then by very much telling that this is not on, you are the final decision maker, but I won't be party to it. I'm going.
Yes, exactly what you did.
That's what I thought I did.
All right. Thank you so much, sir. As I said earlier, this is an absolutely riveting read, and it has been an equally riveting conversation. Thank you so much for joining us in the first episode of The Officer's Desk. Look out for these more episodes with officers like Mr. Garg every week on The Print. Thank you so much for watching.